Welcome back to another episode of Classic Basic with me, Kristen. Today we're doing something a little bit different. My daughter has the day off, and I am going to be interviewing my very good friend, Sharissa Bradley. She is an author and a publisher, and her book is called Journey Back to Health. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your journey, your book?
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be on your show. I've just so enjoyed our time getting to know each other, and this new blossoming project is so exciting, and I'm really excited to be here with you. My book, like you said, is Journey Back to Health. It is about my journey battling autoimmune disease, but also my mental journey of dealing with being a sick mom, because I was raised by a sick mom and I didn't have any maternal or paternal figures in my life, and to end up living with someone who was chronically ill, and then that became a source of the beginning of a pill addiction. So then when I was diagnosed and I started feeling all of these awful ways because of autoimmune disease, I was so determined to not be that person. And so tooth and nail, I dug myself out of the deepest hole. It took about two and a half years. And I wrote this book about my journey. But in the meantime, I also got an education in nutrition and became certified as a clinical nutrition consultant through the University of San Diego. And I also did other continuing education type things so that I would be able to help other people. So the book is also a guide. It's a tool to help other people kind of dig their way out and get back to health.
That's amazing. And, my book, one of them, The Eye of the Ripple, says exactly what you described. We all have that ripple effect that from childhood to adulthood. And the whole point is you need to break that cycle, right? It's never anybody's fault, parents, whatever happens, but you need to break the negative cycles and turn them into positive ones. And that sounds like exactly what you did. So that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a journey since writing the book. I actually put the book out in 2018, wrote it in 2017. So I've had an opportunity to put out a new edition of the book and just really revamp and really recreate the whole picture. And that is what this book is now. It's actually a third edition of Journey Back to Health with all new information, new cover, and that came out in 2019.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So going with that topic, today's podcast is about what your relationship with food says about you. And I personally do not think people realize what an impact food has on every single part of your body. Like I like to say, mind, body, and spirit. So what your relationship says about you, or your relationship with food, says about you, I says what kind of person you are. Some people are emotional eaters. Some people don't eat because of emotions, or some people for foods, let's say. So it also says, a lot about how important your health is to you. And then that also, it's a ripple effect again, affects your mood, affects your relationships, So what's your theory, your thoughts?
I completely agree with you. And you know that about me already. I feel like we share so many values when it comes to food and using food as medicine. Originally, this took me a long time to understand what my relationship with food is. I struggled with anorexia for most of my life because we were raised very poor, and it was to make it so that I wasn't having the need, so that the need wouldn't have to be met. So I trained myself to not eat. And it wasn't from vanity. It wasn't because of how I looked, because literally we lived in tents and in the car. There wasn't mirrors or things like that. It wasn't because of a body issue. It was more of a physical need to make sure that my sisters ate, that there was enough food for the smaller people in my family. And I quite literally trained myself to only eat dinner. And I didn't understand that until only about a year ago, when I started to try to heal my relationship with food, because I deal with a lot of nausea with food. I don't have hunger cues. I think I trained that out of myself. And so over the last maybe year and a half, 2 years, I've been working really hard to rebuild hunger cues so that when I am like, when it is the time of breakfast, that I feel hungry instead of sick, which is what I typically do feel, is like nausea. And I struggle to get food in. And I also have to like minimize distractions around me. Like if there's like a lot of activity, that makes it really hard for me to try to eat the meals that are hard. Dinner has never been an issue. For some reason, that just comes like that has always been okay. But lunch and breakfast, I still am struggling even years into the awareness of where it came from and the pattern. And even though I have a really healthy relationship with the types of foods that I eat, I don't eat like any fast food or junk food or sodas, things of that nature, but I still struggle with rebuilding my actual relationship with the nourishing part of what food is and what it means to the body, and feeling enough and worthy. And there's 1,000 stories that were attached to the eating disorder. So it's very convoluted, but my relationship now is to really look at it like this is so nourishing, and I'm really working to get hunger cues back.
That's very interesting what you said, because I tell my clients all the time, we replay the same movie. For example, anxiety, right? You get on this anxiety spiral, they replay the same movie over and over again, and they cannot get out of their own way because the anxiety takes control, for example. And you just said that you had to basically retrain your body to accept breakfast and lunch, but dinner was never a problem because you always ate dinner. So that was the movie you were playing, so that was okay. Dinner was acceptable. But anything varying from that movie felt weird for you and out of sorts.
Exactly, 100%.
And that's interesting. That's something else we have in common. I suffered a little bit with, it wasn't a severe anorexia, but it was a little bit anorexia during my teens. Different reason. I just had childhood issues and I never felt in control. So
Yeah.
that was my issue with it. And I had to overcome that, which I have. But it's amazing how I say it all the time. I say it to my clients, like some people have extreme challenges in life, but there is always a way to heal and to retrain the brain. You just have to put in the work and it takes time.
Yeah, time and effort and consistency and discipline, because I can't skip a day. I can't even skip one meal ever.
Yeah. And like, that's good. Now you're retraining yourself. Okay. So that's another thing we're talking about, mindset. And I think it's very critical. Like you said, you were focusing now on more of the nutrition aspect. So I pose the question, can changing your diet change your mindset? And that is like a threefold question, right? Because it can, in that you're making better choices, you're eating healthy, you're having better gut health, which I'm sure you know about. And then you're also feeling better mentally, because if the gut is stable, the serotonin and dopamine, the feel-good hormones, have access to go to your brain because your gut is clean. So it's like a ripple effect with that as well.
I absolutely love your book, the Ripple book. Like everything about it, I love. I read it through just a few months ago, but I feel like we're so matched in that philosophy where you have this one little thing and it creates all these different choices and these different decisions. And the work that I'm doing to heal my body with the food, like first I had to have the awareness that this was a problem. And then I had to be willing to say it out loud to my family, to my friends, to say, I actually am struggling with this thing that I'm really working hard to do, but I'm not going to mask it anymore. And I'm not going to mask the symptoms of it anymore. Like the nausea, when I'm experiencing it, I just say like, I'm really struggling to eat this meal right now. I'm so nauseous. I need to either change the smells, change a drink, get like less distraction on the outside. And it took so much awareness. And then there were 1,000 stories attached to it. It was so many pieces of it that weren't just this one thing I had to learn about myself. And I had to be willing to make that change and willing to be. And I really do want to mirror better examples for my children. Like even my daughter today, she got so worked up, like there's nothing in this house I want for lunch. And so I'm just going to skip lunch. And I got so triggered, and I just kind of had to like step away for a second and go, she's 14. She's going to figure this out. She's going to come back in a few minutes and she's going to make the right choice. And she did. But it was something that I really struggled with. Like, no, we never skip a meal because you can't figure it out. Just eat a peach. And so there are still these things, these stories that I'm still navigating, trying to set a better example.
Yeah. And again, like you said, these physical conditions, so the anorexia, that's a physical condition, a physical symptom, but that's never the root cause, so it's multi-layered from whatever emotional issues, stressful events you had, the way you had to cope. And yes, not having enough food was an issue for you, but like you said, it goes much deeper than that. And again, that's what I try to tell my clients, like, you do not want to continue this pattern. You want to stop it for your kids, because even when kids are small and parents don't realize that, oh, they're little, no, they pick up on everything, and they then develop their anxiety and their coping mechanisms, which the problem is children don't have coping mechanisms, right? So they develop these unhealthy coping mechanisms because they don't know what's going on, and they aren't in tune with their emotions. So it is so critical for parents, especially, to be aware of their issues, heal themselves, so they do not pass any bad habits onto their children.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Why, again, this is like a tenfold question, but why do you think people feel guilty about eating?
I feel like you said, there's a lot of different reasons for it, but for me, it was like there wasn't enough, and so I couldn't eat because there wouldn't be enough for everybody. But I wonder if there's like even stories around what we look like, what we feel like, and then kind of berating ourselves for making choices. And for myself, I think that the most important thing, if we have like any kind of disordered eating, that we should be listening to the body, taking note of like what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and then not adding that level of shame of like, oh, I did this thing. Like every now and then I still love like that crap candy, like hot tamales or like Sour Patch Kids. It's super rare, but I will eat a whole box of them. Like, oh, today was crazy. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to eat this box of hot tamales. But I never feel bad about it because I'm just proud of myself for eating, for meeting my needs. It's this little splurge, And so we have to like find the areas that the brain is saying like, you're bad, you're wrong, that like shame building part of it, and try to interrupt it. And you've talked about this before. I think you talked about it on my podcast, maybe even, but it was like that pause. Maybe I saw it on your page, but it was like the pause in between making the decisions. Like when we have the thought and the decision that we make, and then the pause in between. And I think developing that to the point where I don't have any guilt or shame eating the hot tamales. So you shouldn't have any guilt or shame if you're eating a couple of cookies or whatever it takes to like give yourself that little like inside hug. But I think that those stories that we layer on top of ourselves after the fact, the guilt, the shame, that adds so much like detriment than actually eating the food. Like just eating it and not having any guilt or shame around it, like you're going to process it, you're going to digest it. But if you sit there with your food in your stomach like a rock and you're just hating yourself for what you ate, like it's just not going to digest properly, right? Like the gut and mind connection you briefly mentioned before, like we are in control of that. And if we're saying like, oh, I hate myself for eating these things, then we might likely throw up. We might likely sit in pain. We might likely have gas or bloating or fatigue or mental fatigue from it, like just from adding that additional negativity to ourselves for nothing.
Yes. And it's, I work with nutrition also with my clients, and the whole key to anything in life is having that healthy balance, right? So you want to be healthy and you should be healthy, the majority of the time. But everybody is going to indulge. But
Yes.
like I tell them, the donut's going to be there in the year 2078. Like, it's not going anywhere. Get yourself on the right track and maybe taste. This country, I said it on my other previous podcast. What is it with the supersize, the extra large? Like, it's just ridiculous. If you want to taste something, have a taste, not 2, 3, 4 donuts. Have a taste. But again, like we said, it has to do with emotional issues. It has to do with stress. It has to do with comfort food. You're not just dealing with simply looking at a donut. That donut means so much more than just the actual donut when people overindulge
Oh, I couldn't agree
or
more.
or underindulge.
Yes, I completely agree. And I I want people to understand that when I was going through my healing journey, like when I was talking about that 2.5 years at the beginning, I ate an autoimmune paleo diet. So I had no coffee, no sugar, no gluten, dairy, soy, corn, no chocolate. For 2 years, nothing went into my digestive system that wasn't going to help heal. I did broths and soups and well-cooked organic vegetables and organ meats, like everything that tasted horrible. I did it because I was working towards healing myself. I'm talking about the hot tamales 9 years after reversing autoimmune disease using food. So this is something that I've allowed myself way later down the road after healing the gut, after working on like literally leaky gut, fatigue, at 4 different autoimmune diseases that now don't even show up at all. I have no markers for autoimmunity. So, I mean, I took the time to reverse the disease. This isn't something I was taking liberties of during my healing process.
Yeah, it's funny. I had candida overgrowth. My tests were coming back with questionable lupus. I didn't have lupus, but it was right after my divorce, and I was so stressed. Like, my face broke out. My son was like, "Mommy, do you have the chicken pox?" And I was like, "No." Like, I wouldn't even leave the house. It was so painful. Bloating, I would blow up, and fatigue, could not even open my eyes, felt like they weighed 100 pounds. All horrible symptoms. My body was crashing. And I did the same thing. I ate basically nothing. I was scared to eat at some point because I didn't know what was going to give me symptoms. And I did. I healed myself. Every once in a while, candida is very hard. We have candida in our guts normally. So every once in a while, but it acts up, I should say, but nowhere near. Like, I healed myself from all of those other issues, but that's also emotional healing also, and being able to get through the divorce, through the trauma, because that's also part of healing your gut.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a long road. That's what I try to tell my clients, and you have to put in the work.
Yeah.
In every step. How long did it take us to get to where we are, and the stress and the bad experiences that we had?
Yes, absolutely. It's so important to recognize like the time it took to get bad.
Okay, let's shift a little bit and let's shift and speak about how poor nutrition can have an effect on relationships.
Well, if you don't have optimal nutrition, like you can't function. Like if you're not getting what you need, fat, calories, to the brain, then you're not going to be able to like show up and to serve in your community. And a lot of people want a community. A lot of people want that village, right? Where's my village? Where's my community? You actually have to build that, and you have to show up, and you have to be a villager in order to have a village. And if you're not operating at an optimal pace and an optimal like digestion and health and your relationship with food, you can't really bring anything to the table. You can't really serve your community. You can't show up for your friends who are postpartum and you want to bring them a dinner. Like there's no energy for that. And so that makes it so we can't show up in relationships if we're not connecting the dots really, like, okay, my food equals nutrients, which equals energy. And if I don't have enough energy, I can't put anything into my relationships. You end up becoming a person who's kind of codependent. Your needs, your health, your issues start to overshadow the relationship. And then it becomes like, oh, you're always asking, you're always needing, you're always the one who's saying, can you help me? Can you support me? Well, that's not really being a good villager. Like, you're not able to show up and serve if you have no capacity to do so. And I feel like right now I'm noticing in society where there's so much sickness, there's so much illness that we really can't show up for each other. And it's looking like cut off relationships. It's starting to look like people cutting ties because the pull and the need of the sick person is taking too much energy from the person who is taking the time and the discipline to care for themselves and heal that relationship with food. And so we're seeing like a discrepancy. And then maybe related, maybe not, we're seeing a rise in loneliness. So we've got more lonely, sick people who are less willing to do the work to heal themselves. And actually, that's what it takes. It actually takes doing the work, making yourself someone who's reliable and not someone who's like, oh, I can't come today because, and fill in the blank, migraine, bloating, cysts, PCOS, like all these terms that could so easily be fixed with like removing offending foods and adding nutrient dense foods, which then would make you be a member of society and a member of a village.
Yeah. And it that goes in romantic relationships too. How many people that I consult and, I have no sex drive. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I don't feel good about myself. So I don't want to be intimate with my significant other. And again, food is the source. Like, yes, women have perimenopause, postmenopause, which I'm in there right now, and it's not fun. But besides balancing your hormones, which is a legitimate factor to take into consideration, the foods help because foods have natural hormones, natural benefits to them. So, it gives you even deficiencies. If you're deficient in vitamin D, let's say, that can cause brain fog and depression. So everything has a symptom, and in my opinion, you can always link it back to food.
I completely agree. And you can heal it with food, right? We can do these things that actually create the building blocks that we need to feed the body. And it really doesn't even take that much research to know like what a balanced diet is or what it would take to really feed the body to have balanced hormones. Like it's just discipline, I think, a little bit.
That, and first of all, the pyramid, not to get into that whole thing, but that's completely wrong. The food pyramid, which I think they are revising. And, half of this food is processed. It has sugar in it. Why do you need, I say it all the time, why is there sugar in chicken broth? There is no need to have sugar in chicken broth, but there is, because they want to get you hooked on the sugar. So if you retrain your brain to really not eat the processed foods and the sugar-filled foods, when you do eat it, like I'll eat a banana. Well, I should take that back. Before, now I try to practice and follow my blood type. So let's just say a banana, right? Very sweet. I don't usually eat them because they're not good for my blood type. It's so sweet to me, That's sweet to me because I don't eat sweets on a normal basis. So, or a piece of, any kind of piece of fruit is sweet to me. So that's what you need to retrain your body. So I used to put sugar in my coffee or sweetener in my coffee as sweetened milk. Now I do the unsweetened almond milk. If I taste someone's coffee with sugar in it, I'm like, oh, this is disgusting. So you can, again, it all goes back to retraining your mindset, retraining your body. It's all possible. And your body will react in a beneficial way if you are consistent with it, and it won't want it.
No, and also with the processed foods, not only are you not getting any nutrients from a processed meal, like packaged anything, a bag of chips, things like that, your body's also going to go into protective mode to block the toxins from being absorbed into your body. So now you didn't give yourself food, and you caused your body a crisis, right? We probably have an elevated level of cholesterol because there's crisis, there's fire in the body, there's inflammation. So it's like this twofold path of like, yes, we need the nutrient dense foods and we need to work on our relationship with food. But also when we make these concessions and we eat these other things, we now have to go into the mode of protecting ourselves from that crap we ate.
Mm-hmm. And now how do you feel alcohol affects relationships?
I'll just preface this by saying like we don't drink in my house. So there is a bottle of champagne in my fridge, like for like a random birthday or something like that. And there's a bottle of sake in my pantry if we decide to do like a sushi night or something along those lines. But that is literally it. Those are the 2 bottles of alcohol in my house. They've been here for months unopened. It is not something that we indulge in. Not that we haven't always. My husband and I have been together 18 years. And in that time, we've definitely seen other patterns and periods of time where drinking was a part of that. I think that for me specifically, the sugar isn't worth it. The sugar high and crash in the middle of the night. Like people think, oh, I'm waking up in the middle of the night because the alcohol wore off. You aren't. You're waking up in the middle of the night because the sugar wore off. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you have an adrenaline spike in your brain and you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like that kind of stuff is not conducive to a healing environment. So like anything that would affect my sleep, anything that would affect me the next day, it's just, that's not going to be allowed in my body. Now, I definitely am not trying to like demonize it in any way. For me, it isn't worth the sugar. You mentioned sugar before. Sugar is a drug. If you look up like the definition of drug, sugar fits it perfectly. It affects the brain. So I use sugar as a drug in my life. Like I don't eat anything that is sugary or sweet, but in this like mid-afternoon, like right now it's like almost 4 o'clock for me, this is the time where I'm gonna switch into the second half of my day where I need to do dinner, bath time, bedtime, shows, all the things that is like almost like a second job of a mom, this like second part of the night, right? I use sugar like a drug right now. This is when I eat a cookie. This is when I have those hot tamales. This is when I'm eating that sugar, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that high and I'm going to run it through the end of the night. And when I crash, I'm going to go to bed. So I do the same thing with coffee. Coffee is a drug. I only utilize coffee as a drug until 10 o'clock in the morning. It is black. I just drink black coffee. When it's over, the reason I say 10 a.m. is because caffeine lasts in the system for 8 to 10 hours after your last consumption. So nothing that messes with my sleep, right? So 10 a.m. gives me until 8 p.m. when the caffeine is worn off, and I can successfully expect that my body is going to kick in on its melatonin, its natural acetylcholine, and I'm going to naturally have a sleep pattern that's uninterrupted by alcohol, sugar, or caffeine. And I do that on purpose. I use drugs intentionally to get me through to the next part of the day. And I think when I switched my mindset of that, like, oh, sugar is a drug, like it isn't this thing that goes in my body. Like it is a thing that is utilized for a specific type of energy. And I don't mean like it's all processed sugar. Sometimes my favorite thing is a couple of dates, and dates have 40 grams of sugar per date. So if I eat 2 dates, I know I've got 80 grams of sugar to run me through this marathon of the second half of the day.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I'm not bashing alcohol. I just think, again, my opinion with that is, and I'll have a glass of wine, try not to do that much because I have that sugar effect.
Yes.
Yes. But whatever, or one drink. But when people do it to the extreme, in my opinion, you're pacifying something. You know, I call these all like adult pacifiers: the overeating, the undereating, the drinking, the smoking, the drugs. You're pacifying something. So if you are drinking to that extent that you have a hard time functioning the next day, or are really incapacitated, then why are you doing it? Are you trying to calm your nerves down in a social situation? Are you really stressed for some other reason? Like, there's a reason, in my opinion, because to sit there and get hammered, what is the reason? Or to sit there and eat a whole cake, what is the reason? There's an issue there, in my opinion, and that's what needs to be addressed. Everything, in moderation a little bit is fine, but when people take things to extremes, something else is going on. Something deeper is going on.
Oh, I completely agree. And if we don't deal with the deeper things, then we're just going to stay there. So it's kind of like it's a call question. Like, do you want to be someone who's growing all the way until your death? Or are you somebody who's going to I've grown enough, I've learned enough, and this is it for my life, and I'm going to stay here. And I've met people who are in their 70s and 80s that never grew past 20 years old. They never learned new things. They never tried new things. They never stopped their habits. They eat the same meals. Like, this is a much more regular occurrence to meet somebody who decided to stop growing than it is to meet people who are like, I'm on the path of growth, I'm never going to stop. And when we do things like you said with the pacifier, like, that halts our growth path. And I'm talking about a journey of life. And if I want this journey of life, like, I have to deal with the issues that are being pacified. But there's a very real possibility that those people just don't want to deal with it. And I'm okay with that too. I'll let it be.
Right. Look, to each his own, but
Right.
That's why I try to stress, like, it's so important to heal, because we all have issues. Nobody is issue free, but you either choose the path where you're kind of just gonna exist, right? And bury the issues and leave them buried, but you're really not burying them because they're coming out as physical symptoms or emotional symptoms. So you think you're burying them, but you're not. Or you do that healing journey. So like you said, with, not growing past a certain age, I say you either grow, heal, and mature, find your purpose, and become an actual adult, or you stay a little boy and a little girl wearing big boy and big girl clothing. So which one is it going to be?
Those are the people that are lonely right now, because they're dealing with the fallout, the consequences of not growing up. You're going to end up lonely, because I am not somebody who likes to repeat conversations over and over. I am not somebody who wants to come to your house and hear the exact same thing you said last week. After a few weeks of that, I won't be coming back. And so that type of pattern, it detracts from building real relationships. It detracts from being deep in partnership. And that mindset of just, I'm good, I'm done, it is going to end up in loneliness. Like, there are things that are going to result from that are negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And now let's jump into like food in family situations, or, I feel like this world is a big deal, right? It's an event, and that's great. I love going out to dinner. I love trying new restaurants. But again, you can't go and eat, horrible food and drink yourself to oblivion, and then you don't feel good. So it is a social event to a point, just as family dinners, which I feel are far and few between these days because everyone's so busy, that also is an event, a positive event, assuming no one's on their phones and not communicating, that you're actually sitting there and communicating. So I think that whole mindset needs to change also. Like, yes, going out to dinner, enjoying at-home family dinners, inviting people over to enjoy food is also great. But like I always say, enjoy the moment. Like, don't engulf yourself in the moment, in the company. It's not about engulfing yourself in the alcohol or in the unhealthy food. You know what I mean? So I think it's critical to have those moments, but we need to redefine the importance of them.
Yes, and not increasing our toxicity load. Like, if we look at like flu season comes right after Halloween and Thanksgiving. Like, did you engorge on so much sugar and candy that you became a toxic like waste dump essentially? And then you have to like purge that toxic waste. Like, and that kind of circles back to like this villager component of like, are we doing our part to show up for our community? Like if we're indulging and binging in these things that are really, really bad for us, toxic for us, there's no way we could show up in relationships. And then that mindset of like, oh, well, I'm sick, or, oh, I have this health issue or whatever. It's like, it's only going to be accepted for so long. Once it becomes like a long-term thing that you're carrying as a story, it becomes the reason that people, end relationships, in my opinion.
Right. And then because you're living this unhealthy lifestyle to an extreme, then what happens? Then you need the blood pressure pill. Then you need the diabetic medication. Then you need the cholesterol pill. When again, listen, I'm a physician assistant. I am not against emergent medicine. It does save lives, 100%. But if you have the power in yourself to prevent this, why not do it? Or go on, okay, your blood pressure's out of control, your diabetes are out of control. Obviously, go on the medication temporarily so you don't have a crisis. But now do the steps you need to get off the medicine. Because I've seen it happen, but most people just are comfortable staying on this medicine, which medicine has side effects. So they don't do anything to better themselves. They just use it as the band-aid, as the crutch, and that's okay. I'm good. No, I don't have high blood pressure. No? Are you on blood pressure medicine? Yeah, but my blood pressure's good. No. You have high blood pressure. It's just controlled by the medicine.
It's such a hard cycle and so hard to break free from. And I so appreciate when I meet people who are like, okay, I got on this medication and this is what I got to do to heal myself to get off. And I really connect so much more with people who have that drive and have that desire to show up fully and wholly. And I love this quote that's like, like I would die for my kids. And it's like, okay, but would you heal for them? Would you live for them? Would you have joy for them? Would you find peace for them? Like instead of dying, instead of that, what if you lived and well?
I love that. That's exactly, that should be not I would die for my kids. I would live for my kids.
Yes. There's so much more empowerment there.
Yes, absolutely. All right. What do you think? What is one misconception that people have about healthy eating?
One misconception about healthy eating. There's so many. It's that it's hard. Like that it's hard to do. Like I get we've kind of like destroyed ourselves in the convenience food market. Like the fact that we have accessibility. I think one thing that has kind of saved my life is the celiac disease. Like I can't go through any drive-through because it doesn't exist for me. There aren't foods that exist for me. So I think that destroyed the convenience for me. But I truly, truly believe that it is not hard to be somebody who is healthy and is conscientious about the things that they put in their bodies, even with a convenient factor. So things like doing meal prep or meal planning. And this doesn't have to be boring, and it doesn't have to be eating boiled chicken and broccoli and rice 5 days a week, not even at all. One thing I've just recently fallen in love with is like this restaurant style meal prep where you prep like 2 or 3 proteins, a couple of carbohydrates, and a couple of sauces or dressings. And then every day you can have like a new combination of foods that's still meal prep. So it becomes fun and fresh and exciting. And I only cook like 1 or 2 times during the week to have meals that allow me to have like so much variety. And it saves so much money. It saves me a tremendous amount of time. I can't even imagine getting in the car and driving somewhere and waiting for them to bring me my food and then like trying to digest it. Like just even thinking about like the time that it takes to get the convenient foods. It really isn't that hard to be healthier. It really isn't that hard to make healthier choices. Now, I prefaced it by saying it's not like I get the convenient foods anyways, but I truly believe if we take a tiny bit of time, like even maybe this isn't your like value belief system, but like AI can like literally change your world when it comes to meal planning and like getting recipes and things like that. Like I ask like, hey, these are the 4 proteins I have. This is the ingredients I have. Make me a restaurant style meal prep. And I get like a full menu, steps, grocery list. Like we don't even have to do the planning anymore. If that's the excuse, if that's the reason I can't plan, I don't have the time to plan, we actually have tools now that are free that can do those kinds of things for us. And not only that, there are resources like people like you, people that do meal planning and meal prep, meal type work for other people. Like if it's convenience that we need, there's resources for that. But I just feel like the biggest misconception is that it's going to be so hard. And I just wonder, like, is it easier for you to go to the hospital? Is it easier for you to like be sick? Is it easier for you to take pills and $500-600 a month on medical expenses? Like, is that easier? Because I just can't imagine that it actually is. And that was my life growing up with a mother who was sick. I was in the hospital with her 4 or 5 times a week. Now, there were pill addictions and morphine addiction on top of that that brought us to the hospital. But underlying all of that was this misconception that it was going to be harder to heal the body. And I mean, I lost so much of my childhood over that. I just can't imagine that we can use that as an excuse anymore. There's so many resources now.
I agree. And that's another thing I tell my clients. Like they'll say, oh, I have no time, or, I don't want to hear it. Like, I'm divorced. I raised 2 kids from a very little age on my own, always had 2 to 3 jobs after the divorce. Still got myself up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to work out because it makes me feel good. And would prepare my meals till this day. I prepare their meals on Sunday, all healthy food. Like, there's no need. I'm sorry, but it's a little bit of laziness. Even my clients will say, oh, I went out to dinner. There was nothing to eat. No, that is not true. I go out to dinner all the time. I'll say, can you please just give me a plate of grilled vegetables or a large salad with this, and lemon and olive oil on the side? No problem. No problem. All you have to say is I have a lot of food allergies. They don't want to get in trouble, so they're going to give you whatever you want. No excuse, no excuse. People just use excuses because they don't want to do it. But you say you have no time, but I guarantee you're sitting in front of the TV for at least 1 or 2 hours. So one day a week, prep your food.
You're either going to make time for it now, or you're going to make time for being sick later. And everyone says this. Everyone in the health field says this. This is not a new phrase. Like, you're either going to make time now or your body's going to take that time later. And it's not your choice at that point. So like, I'm someone like that likes to have control over my environment, that likes to have control with my food. And knowing that that could be taken from me because of a hospital stay, because of illness, that's not worth it to me. So it's a mindset shift. Like, you want to do it now or later?
Yes, and that's a very good point. And that is another thing. Before this job, I used to do geriatric house calls. And facts, you cannot fight facts. The 90 and the 100-year-olds, and yes, there was quite a few who were healthy and speaking and cognizant, and whether they're still working out, God bless them, they were on maybe max 3 pills, if any at all.
Yes.
So what does that tell you?
Yes, it's possible. Look at, like, I was just thinking recently, Dick Van Dyke, there was like a video of him dancing on the internet, and he's like I think he's 99 now. And he's like, I just eat right and I take care of my body and I dance every day and I go to the gym every day for an hour. And these are the things that we do for ourselves so that we can have longevity, so that we can have real longevity, health, not sitting on a machine, not a burden to the family, real longevity.
Yeah, vitality, which is
Yes. I love that word.
And I tell everyone, like, this period, honestly, anywhere from 35 to 55, 60, that is when your medical midlife crisis is going to hit. Yes, your hormones are fluctuating, but your body is tired of eating and holding on to trauma and eating bad foods that aren't right for your body. So you either fix it now, or when you retire, like, do you want to retire and spend, because I see it all the time, every day in your schedule is booked with a different doctor's appointment, a different test scheduled. This is how you want to retire? No, you work hard enough as it is to get to retirement. Like, I want to retire and enjoy my life. I don't want to be going to the pharmacy to pick up this pill, going to the doctor for this. Oh, the doctor sent me for this test. No. So now's the time to do it. Stop and get that longevity.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I think this was a great, informative podcast. I hope we reached a lot of people and they took into account what we were saying. Where can somebody reach you if they wanted to reach you?
It is so easy. I made it so easy. Everything is at sharissabradley.com. You can find my publishing house that way. You can find my books. You can find my podcast. So anything, sharissabradley.com. You can even contact me through there. There's a contact form. So that's the easiest. And then also on social media, I like Instagram the most, and it's sharissabradley.author.
All right. Any future books?
I think about it all the time. I just finished reading a memoir this morning that made me never want to write a book again. So maybe.
All right. Well, it was an absolute pleasure having you. I hope to do another one really soon because my brain is already going with more topics we can discuss. And I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I loved being
All right.
here.
Thank you very much. All right. And stay tuned for another episode of Classic Basic next time. Bye, everyone.